Rybak of Minneapolis. I'm excited to be meeting here today. I want to thank the center for the great work they're doing. And before I begin, we wanted to ask Anthony Martinez of the Civil Rights Agenda. I'm sorry, Anthony Martinez of the Civil Rights Agenda to please kick us off.
Hello, my name is Anthony Martinez. I'm the Executive Director of the Civil Rights Agenda. I'm also here as a spokesperson for the Illinois Unites for Marriage campaign. I'd like to first thank the mayor for being here today and welcome him to Chicago, the city that I love and live in. I also have a fondness for Minneapolis, been there many times. I really appreciate the open arms approach the city is taking, particularly with our gay and lesbian couples. And I speak for the majority of Illinoisans when I say that we look forward to returning the favor very soon. I'm sure many lesbian and gay couples will be taking advantage of not only the beautiful city of Minneapolis and the hospitality, but of even greater importance, Minnesota's access to fundamental rights, fairness, and equality. I watched the Minnesota marriage debate in both chambers, and although at times it was hopeful and inspiring, and frustrating and downright infuriating, I knew that the right side of history would prevail. And I've heard from many couples who had the same reactions while waiting and waiting and waiting for the Illinois marriage bill to be called. And we still wait. And so I'm here today to urge our legislators to pass the Illinois marriage equality bill. Now that Section 3 of DOMA has been ruled unconstitutional, there are over 1,100 rights and responsibilities that are given to married couples by the federal government. We must extend legal recognition here in Illinois for all families in order for gay and lesbian couples here to access those federal benefits. That's why this is so important. In 13 other states, gay and lesbian couples can take time off to care for their sick children and their parents, take part in their partner's legal benefits, and many, many other rights and responsibilities that heterosexual couples in Illinois can take part in. Illinois should support fairness and grant same-gender couples the freedom to marry. As Governor Quinn and Mayor Emanuel stated yesterday, the failure of the Illinois legislature to pass this bill not only has real issues for couples with regards to rights, but it also is an economic issue and has real impact and cost to our hospitality and tourism industries. And while I'm delighted to see Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota benefit economically, I'm equal part distressed that Illinois is losing out on these economic dividends, especially when our economic reality is so dire. The Williams Institute released a study that shows that if we do not pass marriage equality in Illinois, we could lose over $111 million in the next 3 years. Illinois cannot afford this, $111 million over the next 3 years. We cannot afford this. So while I welcome you, Mayor Rybak, and appreciate your hospitality in welcoming gay and lesbian couples to your home city, I hope that Illinois can return the favor very, very soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anthony, and I look very forward to the day when Anthony and so many other people in this state take Minnesota's advantage away from what we have. Chicago is my kind of town, but it's the second city in human rights, and right now that gives a tremendous competitive advantage to Minneapolis. We say to the people who built this neighborhood, who've done so much incredible work in this community, that you deserve equal rights. Come to Minnesota, a place that recognizes that you already should have those rights, and commit to marriage. That will give you those more than 1,100 federal rights immediately. You can hop on a plane this afternoon, go to Minneapolis and get married, and come home tonight and be eligible for veterans benefits, for all those other benefits as well. I don't believe that's right, that you should have an advantage in Minnesota that you don't have here, but the fact of the matter is you do. We know from studies that $100 million is estimated to come into this economy when marriage becomes legal. I believe it will eventually, but how about this, Illinois? Why don't you give Minnesota the first 11 million off of that, and then you take the next 100 million once you figure this thing out. The fact of the matter is, in the month since marriage has been legal in Minnesota, there have been 1,600 weddings all across the state of Minnesota. Last wedding you went to, did you ever add up how much was spent there? I was at a wedding this weekend. I would estimate that probably at that destination wedding in northern Minnesota, that there were easily $10,000 spent within that local economy to rent that for the hotels and the restaurants, but also for that woman who made the cake out of her kitchen in Nisswa, Minnesota. Those dollars are coming to Minnesota, and we want them to do that. When you really look at Chicago, as a person who visits here often, you recognize that this city has been built by the LGBT community in so many different ways. I've come to Chicago for most of my adult lifetime, and I've walked the streets of neighborhoods like this. And year after year, I come back and say, what an incredible town. It gets better and better. That's not an accident. It's because this is a talent magnet. It attracts people from all over, and it especially has attracted people from throughout the Midwest who are members of the LGBT community. But ask yourself a question. If you were in a same-sex relationship and you were an entrepreneur and you wanted to start a business, would you rather start it in Chicago, where you're on your own, or come to Minnesota where you can get married and that would give you rights to be on your partner's health care so you can put that money into starting your business? We have a competitive advantage in Minnesota. I can't wait for Illinois to take that competitive advantage away, but until then, we're more than happy to welcome your dollars and your people to the city of Minneapolis. So we thank you for your hospitality, and I want to open it up for any kind of questions. Oh, I'm sorry, I should reveal our ad campaign. This ad campaign will begin running now, and in fact is in the Red Eye of the Windy City Times right here in Chicago. I want to marry you in Minneapolis. That's something that we've been hearing more and more about. We, as I say, 1,600 couples have already gotten married in Minneapolis on the day that it became legal. We started at 11 o'clock at night, said the first I do at midnight, and went straight through till 7 in the morning. I did 46 straight weddings. And a couple weeks ago, I became the first mayor in America, we believe, to marry his own police chief and her partner. So some really wonderful things are happening up in Minneapolis. While I'm holding this up, I'm also going to give a free commercial for one of the most incredible cities you've ever seen. Minneapolis is a city of lakes. It's a city in a park. It's a city by nature. It has hundreds of parks, lakes, the Mississippi riverfront for you to have your wedding. It has great art institutions like the Walker and the Guthrie known around the world. Spectacular places. Minneapolis City Hall is a beautiful place for a wedding. We had 46 in one night alone. So come on up to Minneapolis, and someday I hope Mayor Emanuel can come up and try to steal the same sort of business out of Minneapolis. But in the meantime, welcome to Minneapolis. We want to marry you. Any questions?
Do you think that this ad campaign will push the legislator here in the fall to maybe approve marriage equality?
You know, I'll let Illinois take care of its own politics, but if I was the mayor of not only Chicago, but any city in Illinois, I would be really frightened. Tourism is an enormously big business in the city of Chicago. I know, I've spent a lot of tourist dollars in this town, but Chicago and all of Illinois stands to lose a lot of tourism dollars from people who have a choice. You can come to an incredibly sophisticated city called Minneapolis, and we believe you have equal rights, and right now, the people of Chicago don't. It's easy to find Minneapolis from Chicago. Just go to Wisconsin and take a left.
Do you think it's also indirectly, because I know this is one of the few states that you're stopping on this tour, do you think indirectly that it is almost forcing other states to take a harder look at the position? I mean, you're forcing them to go, okay, this is a money issue, but not even a gay lesbian rights issue.
Well, I believe passionately and deep in my heart that people deserve equal rights. But the fact of the matter is, it's not only the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do with a huge economic upside. People from Illinois can figure that out for themselves, but we've had that debate in Minnesota. The debate is over, and the fact of the matter is, when our debate finished, a lot of money started pouring into our economy, and that's a good thing.
What are some of the other states?
Go ahead, so you can finish off.
Yeah, just any advice for policymakers here who fell several votes short when they tried?
Yeah. Well, there's no question that we're in a period of time where views are changing, but they're changing very, very rapidly. The arc of justice is bending quicker than anything we've ever seen. And my advice to people is get on board. This is going to happen. Eventually, people will look at this, frankly, I believe, as a non-issue. Ask anybody who's a little bit younger than me what they think about this issue. And the vast majority of people who are in their 20s and 30s don't see this as an issue at all. And in fact, people my age are no longer seeing this as much of an issue. In the next few years, it's going to change rapidly, but people will remember how long it took Illinois to come around on this. And that's seared into the memory of people who deserve equal rights. On the night that we did the marriages in City Hall, we asked people how long they've been waiting. It was a total of 740 years. Why should a person in Illinois wait one more second to have the equal rights they deserve, especially when they can just go up to Minneapolis and get them this afternoon? Go ahead.
What other states reached out?
We're going to be targeting cities in the center of the country, Chicago, Milwaukee, Madison, and Denver. But, you know, like Willie Sutton said with banks, why do I rob them? It's because where the money is. We're really targeting Chicago.
Mayor, I'm sorry to speak to you from the leads here, but
It's kind of a nice approach.
you know, we have a mayor who does support marriage equality. Is it a little unfair on your part to come to Chicago and these other cities and steal, in a sense, of their economic vitality that they're hoping for that comes from tourism?
Yeah. The question was, is this unfair to Mayor Emanuel? Have you met Mayor Emanuel? He would do it to me any day of the week. Sure. But more important, Governor Rick Perry was here from Texas giving some line about why it's better in business to do Texas. He kind of forgot about investing in education and transportation and all the other good things that Illinois has done. I'm not Governor Rick Perry. I'm here hoping that Illinois and Chicago take the competitive advantage away from Minnesota. But until you do, we're happy to have your money. All set?
You have some